Welcome into the LIBA Business Hour, sponsored by Nats to Tassili, highlighting local independent businesses in and around Lincoln on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, LIBA Executive Director Travis Filing and Gary Tharnish.
And good morning. You're listening to the LIBA Business Hour. It's another Saturday morning here and just after Thanksgiving. And I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite some time. Our guest today is Kendall Warnock with A1 Auto. How you doing?
Travis, hey, it's really great to see you. It's great to be here. And I'm looking forward to the hour just talking about life, business, small business. And the great community we live in, which is Lincoln, Nebraska.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this morning, unfortunately, Gary's sick today, so I hope Gary, if he's listening, gets better. But so we go through and we start finding these different business owners and interesting people to chat with. And I called you, about a month ago to see if we could get together. And a 2-minute conversation turned into a 1 hour long just chat on the phone. Yeah. And I was so blown away that you and I kind of grew up very similar. Very poor.
Similar tough lives.
Absolutely.
Challenging lives, not tough. So
now you grew up on an Indian reservation.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't. My dad's Chickasaw. Yeah. But I had mentioned earlier, luckily somewhere up the line, my family got off the reservation and did us a tremendous favor. Sure. But now, which reservation did you grow up on?
So, Travis, the Omaha Indian Reservation, which is in northeast Nebraska. There's the Omaha, then there's the Winnebago, in Thurston County. Okay. County 55, just south. And I don't know if a lot of people know where it's at, but it's just south of Sioux City, Iowa. Okay. So it's small villages up there. A ton of villages from Rosalie to Wald Hill, Winnebago, Macy. Pender now is a part of the reservation as of probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But, village of 90 in the village of Rosalie we grew up in. And, again, it was different. And all of us, whomever's listening, we all have challenges. And when we grow up, it doesn't matter if it's on a reservation or if it's outside a reservation, villages, small communities, but we just didn't have a whole lot. Yeah. Respectfully, didn't have a whole lot of resources. Yeah,
and I remember, was it several years ago when they were doing all those protests, like we're the 99%. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? Call me when you're hungry.
Right.
Right. When you wake up in the morning, and you're wearing a stocking cap in bed and you have the big frost patch on the wall from where you were breathing last night. Give me a call then, Mr. 99%.
Yeah. And a lot of folks, they just don't, understand some of the challenges that others, and all of us don't understand the challenges that others have, but all of us have a story. Yeah. And, and a lot of us have overcome a lot. So, I'm grateful for that for sure.
So, when you lived there, how long did you live there? Was your whole childhood on the reservation?
Yeah. So, born in Pender, Nebraska. And, I grew up until I was 18. I was 19 years old before I moved to Lincoln for the first time. And that was, I went to Northeast Community College for automotive, but I drove every day from Rosalie to Norfolk for 18 months. And then, I thought, I don't know if I want to stay in the industry. And my mother multiple times just told me, hey, Kendall, you got to get out of here. You go somewhere and see what life is like outside of a village of 90. Yeah. Not necessarily the reservation, just a small community. Super grateful that I grew up in that community because from the care that you have for others in those small communities, it's just nothing like it. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the wonderful people back there. And I still have friends there. And I still have 2 of my sisters that are alive, are still back there as well.
Oh, very good. Yeah. How are they doing?
They're doing well. One of them, Stephanie, lives in Wald Hill. She works for the school system up there. And Sonia lives in Bancroft, and she retired from the school system in Bancroft. So again, both my parents lost in 2009. And then my sister 3 years ago, Stacy, they're all buried in Wald Hill. Okay. At the Evergreen Cemetery up there. But again, a lot to be grateful for. The path and the support that I've had and the people back there, they're just genuine. They want to see everybody do well. So I'm grateful for everybody back there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So now you started going to college at Northeast, and then you were still living, up there.
Yeah.
And then when did you said you moved to Lincoln, you were 19. Why did you move to Lincoln?
Well, to be honest with you, Travis, I moved to Lincoln because I didn't want to stay in the automotive industry. And the reason I didn't want to stay in the automotive industry is because I thought I didn't like the perception of I was greasy. I come home after a hard day's work. I would stop at gas stations, and I just didn't like the way people looked at me.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you and be transparent. And I think this is important for all of our listeners to understand that. So I started at UNL, and I started with exercise science, and I was not good at that and at those types of classes, to be honest with you.
Right.
And then, through a lot of God's grace, I was on food stamps down here. But then initially I moved back home because the shock of Lincoln, the size of 300,000 people, as opposed to 90,
right?
It was so much different. We didn't have stop signs back home. We had stoplights were. I thought, holy cow, what do we got?
We're big here? Time now.
What do we got going here? The only stop signs and stoplights that I did see when we were growing up was in South Sioux City, Nebraska, when we go up there to Walmart for clothes or Shopko to put clothes on layaway for school. And we'd go through, I remember going through a McDonald's at Sioux City and South Sioux City, Nebraska. And I thought, man, this is pretty busy up here.
That's so funny. See, I grew up in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And so it was the opposite effect on me when I moved to Lincoln. It's like, this is Mayberry.
Yeah. A little bit slower than Cleveland.
I'm like, what do you guys do for Chinese food at 2 a.m.?
Right.
Well, you cook it.
Right.
Oh, man.
Right.
This is going to be rough.
Right.
So what made you determine to get back in the automotive industry?
Well, I tell you, and for all of the younger kids that may or may not be listening to this today, I tried to convince myself that I had different passions.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I grew up on a dirt floor with my father, in the would have been the 80s and early 90s, and I fell in love with the industry, but I tried to pull myself away from my passion in life.
Yeah.
And the older that I got, into my 20s, probably late 20s, I just didn't think I wanted to be in that industry for multiple reasons, but I just kept getting pulled back. And, how you grow up as a child and how your parents shape you and how they care for you and how they teach you. I couldn't get away from it, to be honest with you. So I went back into the industry, and, I'm very, very grateful for everything, and everybody, and God's been so good to me, and He has opened doors in Lincoln when, respectfully, I don't know if I deserved all those doors to be opened, but I'm thankful to be here for sure.
Yeah, no, I understand that totally.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because there's when you and I grew up, because I'm 50.
Yeah.
So when I grew up, you're talking, late 70s, 80s, there was this stigma that you don't want greasy, fingernails, and you don't want to do that job.
Sure.
You need to go to college, and you need to fly a desk and be respectable. And I am so happy that has changed, because that's the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my life. It's like, there's honor. There's a nobility in fixing somebody's car. What's wrong with that?
And in general, let's expand on that a little bit with skilled trades in overall. There's nothing wrong with people that have anybody. And we have 3 kids. I don't know what path they're going to take, but if they want to go to a 4-year school, I'm going to support the heck out of them.
Sure.
But with skilled trades, I still think there's a lot of room there, to be honest with you, brother, in terms of getting parents to understand in general, like, hey, there's so many opportunities in skilled trades. We still need to expand on that, because there's skilled labor. For every 5 that's in the industry now that are retiring, only 2 are getting in.
Right.
So we're still, the gap is widening.
It is,
which creates some challenges for us. And there's still some work to be done there for sure.
Is it a struggle to find mechanics? Because I know you're expanding.
Yeah.
And so you're going to need more mechanics.
Yeah. So again, the grace that comes into what I'm about to say is we've methodically grown over the years. And then, the way you treat people, the culture that you have in a business, starts to get out, and family is by far and away the number one priority for me and everybody that I work for there.
Right.
So if they have a doctor's appointment, if they have a recital, I don't care if that recital is at 1:00 in the afternoon. I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
I am not going to have people that I work with and for neglect their family. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I've recruited organically people that want to come to work for not me, but the culture that we've established in a small business. Now, listen, as well as I do, probably more so than I do, small business, you have to be unique to be able to make it. And you have to, it's like almost like a David versus Goliath type of, you've got all of the chain stores and companies in your respective field that you're competing with. And you have to figure out, how can we separate ourselves from them? Right. And that's one of the reasons how we do it.
And I think one of the frustrating things that we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of political parties get involved in business, and it's not good. It's like they're almost trying to regulate the big companies to go, hey, you need to offer this.
Yeah.
Well, we already offer a lot of that.
Yeah.
But now you're restructuring. Yeah. It's like, okay, paid sick time. Well, my people, we got paid time off.
Yeah.
So we gave them, 3 weeks of paid time off, and now it's all got to change. And it's frustrating because the one unique thing that small businesses can do is like you can offer a different lifestyle.
Sure.
And you might not be able to offer the money that these big corporations offer, but I can offer flexibility where they don't have that flexibility to give.
Yeah.
And it's making it harder and harder for us to compete. It's very frustrating.
And I'll tell you, a couple of things that that I hang my hat on is compensation, flexibility, and a path forward for them. What's their growth path look like? And from a technician to a foreman to a service advisor to a manager. So there's paths there for my team. And again, super grateful for my team over there. And again, a lot to be thankful for, but they're great. And I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if I didn't have a lot of great people that I work for.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember years ago, we had a photographer that worked for us because we own an ad agency.
Sure.
And she wanted more than anything to own her own photography studio. Yeah. And my wife actually was kind of coaching her up and teaching her and showing her what it is to own a business and help her grow. And then pretty soon it came to a point where she was ready to open her own studio. Yeah. And it's like, at first I thought, wow, this photographer is fantastic, man. Why are you coaching her up to get her to move on?
Right.
And Shannon goes, you know what? She's going to move on no matter what. But if I can play a role in helping her achieve her dream,
absolutely,
that's more of a value to me than just having a photographer for the next 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was such a cool experience. And I'm lucky enough to have married way above my grade.
Yeah. Me too, brother.
Right?
Me too, brother. Me too, man. Me too.
So that's really cool that you guys, you do that you, because a lot of employers, they don't think of those things.
I think, again, to be able to be able to run with the bigger companies and not compete to a certain extent, but you have to be unique. And we have done that over the years. It's been a struggle for sure. I mean, there hasn't been, you feel like, hey, you've got some things, you got some momentum, and then you don't have momentum.
Right.
And then you take a step back and a step forward and a step back, and you kind of do that dance for years and years and years. And I'll tell you, I never, growing up and getting into Lincoln, one of the biggest, can I tell you about a person that has the biggest impact on me?
Please.
Okay. So one of the people that has had the biggest impact on me in the community here is Joel Sartori. Do you know who Joel is?
I know that name.
Joel is a National Geographic photographer. He's really, really well known. Nat Geo flies him all over the globe.
Oh, wow.
But So I was struggling on West O. I started my shop in a one bay shop, $600 a month. And I thought, holy cow, how am I going to afford $600 a month?
Right.
But Joel had brought an old Cadillac out to me, and I had my first employee. I was frustrated that day. I was, and he could tell I was frustrated. I didn't know. It didn't matter who he was. I didn't know who he was. I just wanted to be able to help him with his old Cadillac, which was a huge challenge, by the way. But anyway, so when Joel left that day, and I was frustrated, I think he could tell I was frustrated. Joel showed up at my wife and I's house in North Lincoln that night. And he brought, first of all, he rang the doorbell, and I thought, how the heck did you find out where I live?
Right.
But, he showed up and he said, hey, I want you to read this book. And if you agree to read this book, I'm going to help you with life a bit. But I want you to read it in 2 weeks, and then I'm going to quiz you about it. And he handed me Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People book.
Oh, yeah. Great book.
And I thought, and Des was like, who the heck is this guy? He shows up at our house with a book and tells me to read it. But I tell you what, Travis, I would credit Joel just as much as my mother telling me to get away from the village. And
right.
I would credit Joel just as much as keeping me from moving back to the village, because he's a really dear friend of mine now. But I read that book and it really changed my life to the point where, I've taught at UNL and Union College and a couple of high schools that I've spoke at. I bought just this year. That book is so important to me that I bought close to 1,000 copies of that book and handed it out to kids.
Oh, wow.
So it's super impactful for me. And I just wanted to share that because that was a big moment in my life.
That's fantastic. When we all have those people who just, for some reason, God puts them in your life.
Yes, exactly.
And it just totally changed the trajectory that you're on. Yeah. So we have to take a break.
Sure.
And so let's go to break. And you are listening to 93.7 The Ticket and the LIBA Business Hour. And we will be right back with Kendall Warnock from A1 Automotive.
Back to the LIBA Business Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This segment sponsored by Ascend Aesthetics.
And we're back on the LIBA Business Hour. Another Saturday morning here. We're talking with Kendall Warnock from A1 Automotive. And we're just kind of talking about life in general.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, like the big change in your life. I remember when I was a kid, I was probably 6 and maybe 7, and we didn't have a TV when I was a kid. That was a luxury, right? Very few people in our neighborhood had a TV.
Sure.
And I decided that I wanted a TV. I had no idea how the heck I was going to get my hands on one. And so they sold. Did you guys sell Easter candy when you were in school?
Oh my gosh, we did not, to be honest with you.
Okay.
We didn't.
Well, that was our big school's fundraiser.
Sure.
Was to go out and sell Easter candy.
Sure.
And first place was $100.
Okay.
And I thought, here it is.
Big time.
Here is my opportunity to go out. And so I would get done with school about 2:30 or 3 o'clock.
Sure.
And I would walk home different routes and knocked every door.
No way.
And did it for, I don't know how long it was, a month or whatever it was. And I actually won first place. And of course I was mowing lawns and whatever. And back then when you grow up poor, you're in a poor neighborhood.
Sure.
There's no millionaire handing out $10 bills for mowing lawns. It was 50 cents or whatever it was. But, actually, not only did I get a TV, but I got a color TV.
Big time.
And so
you're big time.
Ben is probably sitting here going, color TV? Aren't they all color?
He's a young cat. He's a young cat over there, man.
But you know what's funny? I still have that television
You're kidding
today.
me.
No, absolutely.
What an awesome story.
My wife, she goes, why don't we do something with this? Let's take the guts out and let's make it a thing. I said,
no way.
No way.
No way. I'd say the same thing.
I will get rid of everything that I own before I get rid of this television set.
Right.
And for me, it was the symbol of, and I've always said it, nothing beats the sweat of the brow and the ache of the back.
Yep.
And being poor, this was what really changed me in my way of thinking was poor was an option.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, like I said, we grew up extremely poor. We didn't have food sometimes we were on food stamps.
Sure.
But if you work hard enough, God's not just going to shower you with gold coins one day because you decided that you're going to go and start working.
Sure.
But it's the perseverance.
Yeah. And going through those stages in life, which is probably about 10 years of stages.
Yeah.
And I never thought about, Travis, hey, why didn't I grow up like my friend Bill
Richie Rich.
Yeah. That didn't have a lot of challenges, but I just never thought that way. And I don't know, if I was naive, but I was not in that space, in that headspace, and I never was. And it's just, worked extremely hard, really, really hard, between, 16, 17 hours a day was not a problem for me. But, I always was super grateful for everything that I had, and I didn't have a whole lot. And now my wife and I we have a nice home. We were able to provide for our kids, but none of that really matters. I was just as happy not having a whole lot of anything, living on food stamps. But so it's just all about perspective and working hard. And again, I'm not going to say this enough throughout this hour on Saturday with you, but God has just been really, really great to me.
Yeah,
I'm just
amen
so
to
thankful
that.
for that, man.
Yeah. I don't know why this popped into my head. You ever seen that comedian Theo Vaughn?
No,
he's hilarious and grew up really poor. And he was in an interview with somebody and they got onto the topic of white privilege. Right.
Oh, really?
And he goes, well, I knew some kids with white privilege. I knew kids with sweaters, and jackets.
Just,
and it's like,
just
exactly.
have a jacket and being
just
privileged.
Have a coat is a privilege.
Sure.
So now you were on food stamps.
Sure.
And tell me about that experience, because I remember when we went on food stamps, my mother cried.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, food stamps didn't come on a credit card. It was a book.
They're coupons.
Yeah, they're coupons, and you tore them out, and it was a scarlet letter.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're standing in there and you're ripping out coupons to pay for your food, and I remember my mom breaking down and crying the first time, and she said, "Come hell or high water, I will get off of these."
Yeah, there's definitely some memories that have flooded my mind in the last 10 seconds that you shared. Food stamps, which were food coupons until about 02 or 03. Travis, I'll tell you a story that, when I was in Lincoln for the second time, I was trying to navigate and survive. And I was living off of food stamps and those coupon food stamps in 01 and 02. And, boy, that, and again, this is not woe is me. I'm just sharing the story to maybe it can relate to somebody here on Saturday, but, and inspire maybe a little bit too. But living on food stamps, going to what was then Shopco at 27th and Cornhusker, which is now Home Depot, but it was a Shopco Supercenter. Mm-hmm. And, I would always wait late at night to go in because I was ashamed to be on those food stamps.
Yeah.
And I also didn't care for when I was checking out, the people, how they would look at me. I was really, now the older we get, the easier that is to shed.
Right.
Not caring about what people's perception of you is.
Right.
But when you're 21, 22 years old and you're trying to survive literally in a city of 300,000, that was a big deal for me. So September 27th, 2002, that night, I was driving a 1985 Ford Escort. It was blue, 2-door, rusted all to heck, but it still ran well because I knew how to work on vehicles, thankfully, thanks to my father. But, that night I sat in that parking lot for a few hours because I didn't want people to see me checking out, paying with food coupons.
Yeah.
So as I was sitting there, processing and praying and thinking, like, can I really respectfully, can I survive in this city? Because it was just so big for me. And so that night with that food coupon, those booklets used to come with $65 worth of coupons. Mm-hmm. So I tore $55 of the 65. I left a $10 coupon in that booklet, and I wrote the date on that booklet, 9/27/02. Still have it on my nightstand at home, by the way. And I said to myself, I am not doing this. I am not doing this. I can't do it anymore. This is the last time I'm going to use food stamps. And I kept that promise to myself. I worked multiple jobs, but again, that night for me was another big impactful night in my life. And people that are on government assistance, there's no shame in that. Like, everybody needs help. All of us do. I did. But there's ways to get away from that as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm grateful for that. And, anybody that's listening and you're in that situation and you think, gosh, how? Well, stop by the shop.
Yeah.
Give me a call. Shoot me an email. I'll get on the phone with you if I can help you in any way. And a lot of people in the community that know me know that I really care about helping others, and I want to see people do well. I'll help.
Yeah. So. And you can do it. That's,
for sure.
I mean, that's the thing that I try to get through to people is you can do it.
For sure.
Because this will sound really strange, but God has given us all different kinds of blessings, right? And so I am not the smartest guy on the planet, not even close, not the best looking guy on the planet. There are so many things that blessings that I didn't get that other people got.
Sure.
But the one blessing that God gave me is almost crippling insomnia. Right. Yeah. So I have horrible insomnia. If I can get 2-3 hours of sleep a night, I'm in good shape. Right. Yeah. So, but that is such a blessing because the one thing that advantage I have over most people is nobody can outwork me.
Bingo.
Because I can work a 20-hour workday and accomplish, even though it may take me a little bit longer to get something done, but I have the time.
Sure.
And so you're going to have problems in your life, but you need to look at them as blessings because trust me, for the longest time, I didn't think insomnia was a blessing.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't.
It's like, I'm going to chat with God about this one.
I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure. Yeah. Give me a hand here.
Exactly.
Big guy.
Yeah. Help me out. Just give me 6 hours, God. Please. I'm begging.
Right.
But if you're on the assistance, and I'm so glad that we do have government assistance.
Yeah. I mean,
but don't let it become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Use it as an opportunity, as a springboard to help you get past and persevere because buying food with food stamps. And I mean, I remember opening up the cupboards and nothing like right now I go down, we have a little food pantry in the basement and it's so weird. The little things that stick out in your mind, right? And all the soup cans are stacked up and you just kind of look and for me, it's twofold. When I was a kid, we didn't have no food pantry. Right. And nothing was stacked too high because everything was dented. Right? There used to be at the back of the store, you had the dented cans and nothing stacked, man. Everything was one deep and half of them was a mystery because it didn't have a dang label on it. But it's a can and it's food in there. And even though it's a mystery food, it costs 20 cents. I can eat.
Isn't that's so crazy? That's so, and I assumed you lived on government food too. Did you get some government assistance
the cheese and the peanut butter and
like my mouth is literally watering a little bit with that big brick of cheese that, I mean, that was so like disgusting. A slice of heaven.
Really?
I loved it. I loved it.
I can't really eat American cheese to this day. I'm the only guy that hits McDonald's and goes, burger, no cheese.
That's crazy.
Can't do American cheese.
I loved it. I tell you, my mother, we didn't have milk, which was often, but that powdered milk. Now I could sniff that out in a mile away. I knew when she did that. But again, we were grateful for all of the blessings that we had in the government assistance when we needed it.
Oh yeah. So did you guys got the peanut butter?
Oh yeah.
Did you know the oil trick?
No.
Oh man, I feel bad for you now because if you took a little bit, because it was like, I mean, you couldn't put it on bread because it would tear the bread.
It was so thick.
Right. It was so hard. But if you put a little bit of cooking oil in there, took a while, and you stirred it up, it was like Skippy.
No way.
Yeah. So you missed out.
I may have to go back home and try to find some out back there.
I'm sure you can.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm sure it's still out there.
For sure.
But yeah, it's so funny when you grow up that way.
Yeah.
The rice. The cheese, the powdered milk,
beef stew, and all of the stuff. Yeah.
And everything was white label.
I was just going to go to the cornflakes that were white label. Yep. Remember the box of cornflakes?
Just a white box.
Cornflakes.
Cornflakes and back. That was it.
Let's do it. So, blessing.
So, we have another break coming up here, or we have about 5 more minutes. Okay,
cool.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep time on my clock because we're in a different studio today.
Sure.
But yeah, it's one of those things back to, being poor. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are poor and people who know others who are struggling.
Sure.
But you can get through it, man. You can do it. I remember when I left. So when I moved to Nebraska, I started working at a radio station, did really, really well.
Yeah.
And got to a point where I was making 6 figures.
Good
right. Yeah. I was in high cotton. Yeah. And my wife and I decided that she had started our marketing firm back in 2002. And this was about the end of 2007. And she had wanted me to come work with her. And I thought, let's do it.
Sure.
Let's push all our chips in and give it a go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was the end of 2007.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Then all heck broke.
Talk about great timing.
Goodness gracious.
Next thing you know, it all goes up.
Yep.
The 401k is worth half of what it was, which now we ended up having to cash it in.
Sure.
So now it's worth half of what it was. And then you cash it in, which is now you're losing half of it. So it's just this survival money. Had 2 small kids at home and found ourselves back where I started.
Sure.
And we were at a point where it's like, okay, I'm not going back on food stamps.
No.
Even though it was my mom that was on food stamps when we were on it, but I didn't want to go there because I knew what it did to her.
Sure.
And we got down to our last $100 in the bank.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? Nobody can outwork me. Here comes that insomnia.
Yep.
So I went into town. I went to Walmart and I went to Menards and I was picking up job applications, and Menards had started doing the groceries, right?
Sure.
You've seen where they have milk and they have like frozen pizzas and all the, I always call it low rent food, the real cheap stuff.
Sure.
And I had a Menards credit card, which was like a 28% interest, and that's how I was feeding my family.
Sure.
And then we got an opportunity to build. So we were building websites back in the heyday of websites.
Yeah.
And it all dried up when the economy crashed.
Sure.
And I got approached by somebody who wanted a big website done.
Sure.
And it was in pornography.
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah. You want a challenge? Here's your challenge, right? You have 2 small kids. You're broke.
Oh boy.
And there's an opportunity that will put, it put $10,000, $15,000 in my pocket.
Sure.
And sustain us for 4 or 5 or 6 months.
Ooh.
Do you do it? Right? How's that for a challenge?
Boy,
and ultimately, I didn't do it because I couldn't look my kids in the face and go, how? Because for the rest of, even if I did it, even to this day,
sure.
How did your business survive?
Sure.
It was in this industry.
Sure.
I couldn't do it.
Yep.
And so passed it up. And I didn't even tell my wife about the opportunity because I didn't want any information because I knew she would have said no.
Sure.
But you don't even want to have this icky conversation of the kids are going to be hungry.
Yeah.
Right. We were very much facing closing the doors of our marketing firm.
Oh my gosh.
That was probably, and God gives you challenges in life.
Goodness gracious.
That was the big one, man.
Yeah.
That was the big one.
Yeah. In a time where the economy and everything was absolutely
right. You didn't know if it was going to bounce back.
Sure.
Because we were going down. Sure. And you think, are we heading for the next Great Depression?
Yeah. Right.
Don't know.
Right.
And here's this pile of gold.
Right.
that is just sitting in front of you. And I'm so glad that I didn't do it because now I can tell the story.
Sure.
And you look at people out there again. I know this is all coming full circle, but people who are struggling. There's easy money out there.
Yeah.
And it's maybe selling drugs or selling your body or whatever it is. Don't do it.
Do not do that.
Don't
Absolutely
do
not.
it, man.
Go get a night shift stocking food at grocery store, something.
Yeah, and there's no shame in
There's
that.
opportunities out there, but you've got to be willing to work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of those where, you can do it, man.
Yeah.
You can do it.
There's opportunities. God's giving you. He'll give you something.
Yes, He will.
Yep.
He will. And just because there's an opportunity in front of you doesn't mean God gave it to you.
Yep, exactly. For sure.
For
sure.
So,
For sure.
All right. We are up on our next break here, so we will come back. Let's talk. Let's get a little cheery. This has kind of been a little dark,
Let's
man.
pivot.
We're going back.
Let's pivot, brother. Let's pivot.
You're listening to the LIBA Business Hour on 93.7 The Ticket. We'll be right back.
Back to the LIBA Business Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This segment sponsored by U-Stop and Whitehead Oil.
All right, and we're back for our last segment here. We're talking with Kendall Warnock from A1 Automotive. So let's pick it up a little bit. Let's make it a little cheery because we're So tell us about A1. So you started out on West O Street, and you moved.
Yeah, started out on West O Street. I moved down to L Street, 1117 L Street in 2015.
Okay.
A big move. I was, a lot of God's guidance there too. Every step of the way for me, it's been guided by God's grace for sure. So moved down there in 2015. We're coming up on our 10-year down there. And then, speaking of another God's guidance, we're in the process of building a second location in South Lincoln on 52nd Yankee Hill. And that will be our second location.
Oh, wow.
South Lincoln. So, grateful for everything and, betting, I have everything, and I mean everything riding on this, Travis. Yeah. And we all do in entrepreneurs in the spirit. But again, I'm certainly guided by God's grace here and I'm hopeful that will work out, and I'm looking forward to the journey, although it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, it really is. And, owning a small business, it is so important to support our local small businesses because even though, I know some of these big national chains, they hire employees that are local, but most of that money does not stick around. It does not help our community as much as it does supporting a local small business.
Yeah.
And so, I'm really excited that you're opening another location. And
it doesn't take much to get me started on this topic. So thank you for getting me started on this topic and small business in general. But again, the community has an outstanding amount of small businesses, Travis, that we know and support. And if you wouldn't mind, I'll rattle off some.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll rattle off some. So, Jim Alstead, he owns JA Concrete, really great human being, supports the community, just an outstanding person. So JA Concrete, Pepe's Bistro. Pepe is down here, 11th and, I think it's 11th and M.
I've heard of that place.
Pepe.
I've had more people tell me about that place. Is it burritos or breakfast burritos or both?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
But I think it's an all vegan menu. But again, you want to talk about an exceptional human being. Pepe is an exceptional human being. I've gotten to know him over the last year. Let's go down the list. Ash and Ash. They're a boutique. My oldest daughter likes to shop there. Ashley Shoemaker, and I believe a friend of hers also named Ashley that owns that. Ashley's husband, Josh, owns Select Plumbing. Again, I'm rattling off people that I know are really great humans.
Yeah.
And I'd really love for people to at least, if they have a need in that space, to take a look at them.
Yeah. I mean, it's Small Business Saturday. So this conversation is perfect timing. Because I think of a buddy of mine, he just opened up a pet food store.
Yeah.
His name's Troy. He owns Pet Once, right there at 48th and Highway 2 or whatever they call it now. But it's... Instead of just walking through the streets at Walmart, it's almost like streets at Walmart and throwing in that thing of Old Roy.
Sure it is.
Support a local business with some of that money.
It's so important. And what happens, another one, Tranquility Salon and Spa on Pine Lake. I'm sorry, on Yankee Hill. Steve and Tasha Smeichel own that. Really, really great people, good friends of mine. Steve Kunkel with Stonebrook.
Oh yeah.
A bigger business, but really great. Executive Travel, Paul good friend of mine. All of these people and all of these businesses, Travis, do one thing, and that's give back to the community.
Absolutely.
And that's so important.
That's something that I said the other day. I had an opportunity to speak on, with the mayor and a lot of community leaders. But when you spend money at a local small business, 68% of that money stays in Lincoln. When you use a national chain, about 43% of it.
Is that the numbers?
Do you know what the number is if you buy something online?
What is it?
It's about 6% stays in the community. So, and I'm guilty. Idea. I'm guilty. I have a Amazon membership, right? It's so easy. It's so easy to go dog food, click, whatever it is, click, and here it comes. 6%. And I think
astonishing number.
Amazon doesn't support the Little League team.
No.
Right? They don't give to a local charity. No. They don't support the People's City Mission. They don't support our community. That doesn't mean they're bad.
No.
It just they have their thing, but their thing is not Lincoln.
Yeah.
We need to support Lincoln businesses. And that's why I'm so blessed to be part of LIBA, because all we do is support Lincoln businesses. We know the struggle.
Yeah.
We're business owners.
And I'll tell you, you mentioned the city mission.
Yeah.
So we, for the last 8 to 9 years, we have been buying pies for the Thanksgiving.
Sure.
And just last night, literally, I wanted my son and his basketball team to experience the experience of the city mission and the challenges that those folks have there. There's almost 300 people at the city mission with families and men. And I know that because there's 285 people there last night.
Mm-hmm.
And we took 150 pies for Thanksgiving. And I'm not saying this for any type of pat on the back. I'm just telling you the impact that we can have small businesses giving back. So I bought 150 pies. Doesn't matter the monetary. It doesn't matter the monetary amount. But what matters to me the most is taking my son there last night at 5:00.
Mm-hmm.
And Amy Pappas, who's a good friend of mine, has worked there for 15 to 20 years. She gave us a tour. And I watched those kids, and these kids are, 12 years old, young men, becoming men. I watched them and their eyes moving around the city mission last night. That's so impactful. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. And again, small businesses get back to the community like that all the time.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Yeah. So Small Business Saturday, get out there. Yeah. I know you're buying gifts, but give a gift to a small business and do your business with them. So thank you so much for coming out and chatting with me today. This was fun. I really enjoyed this. You're listening to the LIBA Business Hour, and we will see you next week.